Pretty good. Can you guys hear me okay?
There you go. The thrift one.
Yes, that's convenient on Tuesdays. Put
Yeah,
it back
can you
to
hear me?
things.
I can hear you.
We only accept them then.
Make it hard. Next door or somebody, anything offered next door.
Okay.
Instantly.
And the line scheme is.
Just say when.
Oh, 1 second. Just can you hear?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Can hear.
Yeah, okay.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys, yes.
All right, great. Well, let's get started then.
Wait on Jody.
What's that?
Having trouble.
Waiting on Jody.
Okay.
Jody's not in the meeting.
Wait a couple more minutes. Now, if we have to, we'll get started without her, and whenever she comes in, we'll keep on trucking.
Not working, I mean. You want to just call her on the phone?
In progress. It works for me to see.
I guess call her and we'll put her on. All right, that's going, that's fine. Fine.
Hello, Jody? Jody? Yeah, I'm trying to, hang on.
There's three of them. There's three Jodys.
There's an echo.
Yeah.
Oh, like what?
Oh, I'm okay. I got a thumb drive.
Okay,
Okay, I got a thumb drive. Oh, God, I thought you were getting that for me.
I can't mute myself. Kathy? Yes. Yes. Can you mute me so I can talk to you?
Hey there. Okay. So we can hear you when I have you on speaker. But you can't get on the Zoom.
You can share.
All right, we're gonna give it a couple more minutes and then we'll start the meeting. So let's try
You can hear.
6:05 and we'll see what happens.
Just want to try the link again.
You want to try the
What happened
again,
was
Cheryl
like-
says?
I looked
Jody?
at all this on the screen.
Can you try that link again?
It's awfully tiny.
I'm a very numbers person, so I'll go through this with no problem.
As you're flipping through, I thought, oh man, that's maybe should.
Well, I'm old enough now that I have to have glasses, so it doesn't really matter how I set it up. Now, when you go to the grocery store, you can't read the ingredients anymore. You need glasses.
Here she is.
Okay, I see you.
Did she accept?
Can you accept it now?
Yeah.
Okay, it says you're on.
There she is. Unmute. Test. Ask her to unmute.
This is continuation balance. This isn't.
I'm here.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yes. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I'm just making sure. Like here she is.
Councilmember Shirley, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and we can hear you loud and clear. So it is, now it's 6:05 PM on August 25th, 2025. This is the city council work session for the city of Bel Air Beach, Florida. Let's bring this meeting to order, and now let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert,
Present.
Councilmember Kimberly Shaw Elliott,
Present.
Councilmember Todd Harper,
Present.
Councilmember Jody Shirley,
Here.
Councilmember Anders Williams,
Present.
Vice Mayor Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Reefler
Here.
and City Attorney Tom Trask.
Nice. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. We'll just move right on over into item number 1 on tonight's agenda, which is review recommendations from the Citizens Advisory Committee. City Manager Reefler, you are up.
Thank you, Mayor. So we brought the budget for review and recommendations to the Citizens Advisory Committee. And the first day that we met was on July 23rd. We met 3 times. And after reviewing the budget, it was made a suggestion that we add a little bit to the budget message and policies from the city manager section in the front. And some of the items that they wanted to cover for the message for this particular budget year was to talk a little bit about what we're seeing with the property values. And then also a paragraph that explains some increase in the personnel services that we experienced over the last fiscal year. So if you go to the second page of the budget message, which was in the packet, we added 2 paragraphs on the second page after the last of the bullet points. So I don't know if you had a chance to read the full message, but the additional paragraphs are the city reaffirms its dedication to funding essential services to meet community needs as articulated by residents and by the city council. Bel Air Beach experienced a marginal decline in total taxable value, decreasing by 0.82% from the previous year. This reduction will proportionally decrease the ad valorem revenue to the city in fiscal year 2026. Pinellas County Property Appraiser anticipates a further decline in the city's taxable value next year, with an optimistic outlook that overall Pinellas County property values will stabilize and recover within 2 to 3 years. And that's based on what he observed with the Hurricane Ian in Fort Myers district. So the second paragraph says fiscal year 2024 notable increases in employee wages as the city council directed staff to benchmark the city's pay scales against comparable jurisdictions, both locally and statewide. This process highlighted opportunities to adjust compensation ranges to ensure competitiveness. The emphasis on retaining skilled and well-trained personnel underscored the decision to increase personnel expenditures. With employee compensation aligned with market standards, future personnel costs are projected to grow at an annual rate of approximately 5%, consistent with the merit-based evaluation program. So those are the 2 paragraphs we added at the request of the Citizens Advisory Committee. So that is one of their recommendations that they would like to bring to council. I don't know if anyone
Well written.
would like to add.
I like that. It's well written.
I would probably just add at the very beginning of those 2 paragraphs that it say attention Doge. Just saying, throwing it out there. Being serious though, yeah, it makes sense. It thoroughly justifies what we've done. And yeah. Council, any comments? No.
I'm good. I'm done.
Okay, and then after that, we did this exercise in 2022 to 2023 prior to us doing our bond issue. This is our 5-year projections. It was put together by Heather Guadagnoli, and she's going to take over from here and explain how she put this together so we can all understand each of the 4 of the city's funds and how the money will move around in the next fiscal year for planning purposes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to come tonight. First, I'd like to thank the Citizens Advisory Committee. They helped a lot. I appreciate their input very, very much. So what we have tonight is, it's a very preliminary projection. And I say that because all these projects that we'll get to in a little while that's on this big sheet, they haven't been incorporated in here actually, because we didn't know the timing of what the council's intent is gonna be for when the projects will occur. So essentially this, what you're seeing here, the first page, it says citywide consolidated fund projections. That's the general fund, the capital projects fund, and the stormwater fund.
One thing, can you guys hear me along? Can you help me orient the page you're on for those of us online here?
The first page that I'm talking about says City of Bel Air Beach, citywide consolidated fund projections. It has a graph that has purple
Got it.
and green.
Thank you. Got it.
So we do have 4 funds. I'm gonna bring this a little closer to me. Can you hear me okay, Jody Anders?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very clear. Thank you.
So we do have 4 funds here. We haven't really talked about the marina much. It's an enterprise fund. It's sustaining itself at this time. There aren't huge projects coming up, especially in this upcoming fiscal year of 26 that we're really budgeting for at this point in time. So tonight's projections are more focused on the general fund, capital projects fund, and the stormwater fund. So this first page is those 3 funds all combined. The effects of the subsequent pages, what they do, all combined, rolled in together for the government-wide financial statements. I thought it was important to include the assumptions that we used. So on each one of the funds, they have the individual assumptions, and we'll go over those. But just to get started, I want you to know, and it's important to point out that your city has earmarked $1 million, excuse me, $1 million for a hurricane reserve. That hurricane reserve is not reflected anywhere on here. We're not touching it. We're not using it. We're leaving it. So,
Did you use any of it last year?
oh yeah. I mean, we spent that money, but we still have enough in our net assets that these are still good numbers.
So it's still $1 million in the assets?
Still $1 million, yep.
Still owed 500,000 from FEMA, right?
We're owed a lot more than that from FEMA. I'll get to that in a second.
Council, if you don't mind, let's let her do a presentation and then
I'm not that
we'll ask questions.
Well, that's all right. I don't mind. Okay, so that's the first line item on the assumptions that I use. The fund balance here does not include the hurricane reserve. So whatever you see here plus $1 million, keep that in mind. Based on the projections that we use and the assumptions that went into this, the general fund is going to need to kick in to help the stormwater fund and the capital projects fund accomplish the projects that they're going to want to do. The revenue and expenditures are included here because if it's a revenue in the incoming fund, it's an expense in the outgoing fund. So you'll see where the money comes into the capital projects fund, for example, and it's leaving the general fund. So those always have to balance those interfund transactions. So the first, your main operating fund is the general fund. That's the one, if you look at the blue graph, this is kind of the summary page, and then the one behind it is the general fund that has tiny little print. That was like my work paper that I used to develop these numbers, and I wanted to include that so that you could see exactly if you change one thing, how it would change everything else. I thought it was important so that you guys could see, you know, if you increase your capital projects or if you decrease the revenue projections, all of those components are included here. So you could see that if you really wanted to dig in. So here on the general fund, we have, to answer your question, Mr. Banker, we have budgeted FEMA reimbursements in 25 and 26. So 25, we're almost finished. The end of our fiscal year is the end of next month, September 30th. When we look on our FEMA portal, we can see that there's quite a bit of money. It's considered obligated. So they have approved it essentially, but they're holding on to that money. The most recent communication that we've gotten has said that I believe the federal program is called Defend the Spend.
Defend this man.
Defend the Spend. So they're not giving all that money as promptly as we would hope that they would. So far, we have received reimbursement of almost $369,000 this year. But we have another $646,000 that we're hoping to get. I split that between 25, which is, like I said, almost over. And the amount that I have in the projected revenue for 25 that we're crossing our fingers we get is what is showing in our portal as obligated. So as of the last time we checked, it was $1,015,773. So the remainder of the FEMA money I pushed forward into next year's budget into 26. That's only almost $36,000. So for all the years here, I used an increase of 2% in revenue, a 5% increase in personnel costs, because that's what we've budgeted, for the increase in staff. That also encompasses any increase in the related payroll taxes, insurance, retirement contributions. It's just a flat 5% that we use for that. We also use 5% for the other operating expenditures. And then this next bullet point is important, that I want to point out that I did this in all of the funds. And this is the point that I was trying to make earlier, that this is a very preliminary projection, because I've only budgeted the annual savings for the upcoming capital projects. So in our real full budget document, I don't know if you can picture this page. We have one of these pages for all of the funds, and it lays out all of our capital projects. And we show the amount that we've saved up from prior years, because we do have a savings account for each one of these projects. We put a little bit in each year until it's time for that project to be done. And that's, at the point that I did these projections, that's the information that I had. I didn't know the timing of the bridge. I didn't know when you want to install an air conditioner, things like that. So that's all I have in those out years for the capital projects. With that being said, I think that you could look at these projections as a foundation of what you have available. You have this much available to tackle these large projects that you have slated that we'll talk about here in a little bit. The next bullet point, we have no new debt planned in the general fund. And then again, the last two bullet points repeat that the general fund is going to need to supplement the stormwater and the capital projects funds. So, the page that I have behind that again is the tiny little one. It says general fund projections, and it has each line item broken out here if you wanted to see. So we have personnel, operating, capital projects, debt service, which there isn't any in the general fund. And then in each year here, we have interfund transfers out. So that's what I was saying. It's an expense to the general fund and it's revenue into the incoming funds. That's necessary because the stormwater fund and the capital projects fund they don't have enough money to pay for these projects. You have enough money in total in the general fund, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want you to keep that in mind. A couple things I want to mention on these projections. In years past, I would say that a 2% increase in revenue is very conservative. However, in the current political climate,
Ooh, who did that?
just a little water spill, that's all.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. I'm sure you've all heard in the current political climate, they're talking a lot about property taxes and doing away with them entirely. So that, in conjunction with the fact that you've just been hit by a bad hurricane and your property values have, as we just added to the budget message, they have gone down. I don't know if that's a good projection or not. This is all speculation. Not only the ad valorem taxes, but there are a lot of other revenue sources that you have in your general fund that can fluctuate. When you guys had to shut down the parking lot because they were staging for the beach renourishment, we didn't make any money on parking during that time. So there's a lot of things that can affect these numbers. So a 2% growth, I think, is still conservative, but we can't also hang our hats on that either. So I do think that the 5% increase in the expenses is still conservative. That's what we've historically done for the staff increases. And like I said, the related costs that go along with that. So going forward to the capital projects fund, that's gonna be the chart that's in green. I don't have any increase in the annual revenue in this fund or the stormwater fund. And the reason for that is in the capital projects fund, the main source of revenue in there is your penny money. I don't know what's gonna happen with the penny money, so we held that steady. As you spend down the money that's in that fund, you have less money in the bank, so there's less money to make interest income off of. So we held the revenue steady in all the years. You'll see on here, there's some activity in 25 and 26 having to do with the Gulf Boulevard reimbursement. We are still entitled to $930,425 from the county. That project seems to have been stalled. So we budgeted that in 25. It's not gonna be complete this month.
No,
Um,
but the program gave a whole nother year to collect the reimbursement.
they did,
Us.
yeah, the county extended that because there've been a lot of communities that have not been able to accomplish the undergrounding project that they wanted to, so the county was nice enough to extend that time frame. So originally we had budgeted that project and the reimbursement in 25. We're taking it out. We have to rebudget that again in 26 and cross our fingers that that happens. We have debt service in the capital projects fund. The very last page of your packet before the big project sheet is the debt service schedule. If anybody was interested to see how soon all that, those different items of debt retire, that's on there. There was a point in time that we were contemplating potentially paying off the debt early. In our discussions, me and Kyle and the Citizens Advisory, we decided that that's not really beneficial. The interest that we would earn. Oh, Ron's gonna talk about that? Oh, okay. No, that's okay. I'd love for you to talk, Ron. So we decided that wasn't really beneficial, so I'll leave it at that. And then you'll see where just based on the out years of the savings accounts, if you can call it that, there is interfund transfers coming in. On this schedule, they don't start until 29, which we need to keep in mind that as you start to spend money on these big projects, the general fund will need to kick in sooner than that in all likelihood. The capital projects fund is, I continued in this projection in the roll forward. I made sure that there was enough of an influx. This is the same with the stormwater. There's enough of an influx of money to cover the next year's projected expenses. I don't want it to go broke and then have to move money in an emergency situation. So here, when I was making the projections, I wanted to pre-fund the next year's expenditures. And then the last section that I have here is the stormwater. Again, I did not increase the projected annual revenue. We do allocate 15% of the Public Works Department salaries and related benefits to the stormwater fund. So whatever our public works salaries and all personnel costs are, normally that would be accounted for in the general fund, but we pull out 15% and we charge it to the stormwater fund. So that went up 5%, and then also the operating expenditures also increase of 5%. We haven't slated any new debt in the stormwater fund. And as I mentioned, the general fund is going to need to supplement the stormwater fund expenses. I will mention that between the time I gave you the last draft of the budget, our July 21st meeting, and I did these projections, the pump project had been included in these projections. So you haven't had a full budget with that in it, but these projections do consider 660,000 being expended in 2026 for that pump project. So there's going to be a big discussion when I get done yapping here. what the priority projects are gonna be. We're gonna need your guys' insight on this. And time is of the essence for my purposes so that I can update the 26 budget. I need to post it on the website by this week. And you have your first public hearing next week. So you have a lot of projects in the upcoming years, but my focus tonight, and Kyle might feel differently. I need to know what you want to do next year in 26 so that I can make a budget document that's ready for print.
So you gotta go over your timeline. So you basically have this week to prepare for your first draft.
I do. So the budget document, I'm looking at it here. The last copy I gave you is 80 pages. So when you make a change, it changes a lot. And I'm happy to do it, but I need to know what of these projects you'd like me to include. That is the big paper at the end of your schedule here. And before we start that, if there was anything from the Citizens Advisory that would like to be mentioned, we'd love to hear it.
Welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
For being here.
Council, Watson Gaelic, 2219 Monada, Chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Thanks, Heather and Kyle, for all your help. We've been through a great review of the budget, as Kyle mentioned, and then we dug into this project, looking at the capital balances, the fund balances. And part of the thought is, it was mentioned, is there an opportunity to pay some of the debt down the road? But looking at the capital projects, the good news is when we did the loan back in 2023, our interest rate's 4.36%. And we're earning about 4.4 at the SBA right now. So it basically our cash pays for the debt. And we were looking at potentially in a 2030 scenario. So that would have been about a $760,000 early payoff. Capital projects that have come up, just felt that it's best not to recommend a future pay down of debt because we are the same in interest earnings today. Now, if the Federal Reserve reduces interest rates, there's a good chance that the SBA at the state of Florida, that 4.4% earning today will come down. But overall, there's I think the main message that we want to make sure is the city is well funded. There's strong balance sheet, strong cash reserves, as Heather mentioned, the $1 million, which we pretty much spent in our hurricane reserve this year. In comparison, with Irma, we spent about $250,000. So we spent 4 times more, closer to a direct hit. It is a city, I forget, it's not it's an ordinance that we retain a $1 million balance, and then it's another a regulation that we've self-imposed at 20% cash reserve. So we exceed our cash reserve 20% of expenses, so call it about $800,000. So we've got plenty of reserves. And when we dug into the project that you guys will be jumping into now with Kyle in prioritizing the capital projects, and there's some projects that are coming up, not knowing when the exact spending will be. The good news is we have reserves to fund them. But I think this is a great exercise that Kyle took the initiative in the class to let's have a strategy around what our capital expenditure needs are going to be. And looking at conditioning in this building, the building's 20 years old. This is last building's coming up. So this will be a debt-free building here next month. And I think it was a great prioritizing that Kyle did. So I think that this is a great exercise. We're happy to be part of it and to help. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take any.
Council, any questions for Ron?
Thank you.
Just wanted, we have that $1 million hurricane fund. And we've had that for years. What's the interest rate we're pulling on that?
I just haven't,
Said separately. So we make, like he said, about 4.4% on the money that's in,
Total.
yes.
So that's, even though it's a separate account, we don't have it in a separate.
We just
it's
consider
like-
it separately. It's not, and it's not separated anywhere. It's just commingled with our other funds.
Commingled.
And that interest rate rolls back into the general fund.
Mhm.
And what's the interest rate? We're getting 4 point.
4.4 is what the state is paying. It's most of the cash is invested through the state SBA program.
Yes, Kim.
Did I understand it correctly that all of the projects listed on this sheet are included in the budget?
No,
They're,
they are not.
none of them are, or which of them are?
Well, so what we do each year, like I said, we have a savings plan for each one of them. So like the very first thing, the 22nd Street Bridge repair. We've been saving up money every year, our annual funding for that particular one, just since it's the very first line item. We have been saving for repairs to that, $10,000 a year. And then for, in case we need to replace it, we've been putting away $30,000 a year. So we have quite a bit of our net assets, what it's called, like our money has been saving up with the intent that we're gonna have to spend it on that at some point in time.
What's the cost of that bridge repairing?
Well, we're hoping that the council is gonna approve for us to put 500,000 in the budget for that bridge. Of course, you know, Kyle can speak more intelligently than me on this, but we don't know for certain how much it's gonna cost, but we think that 500,000 is a good estimate to start with.
Are you allocating for repair and replacement at the same time?
Yeah, we do. We have two separate programs. One's for repair.
I'm saying they're both allocated for 26. Are you replacing the bridge or repairing the bridge in
Well,
26?
We had some savings built up in the repair and some savings built up in replacement, but we were gonna combine the two that were allocated as far as.
So we're ultimately just replacing the bridge, but not repairing the bridge and then replacing.
No. Just gonna replace it. No, definitely not.
We're in the process of finding out what's gonna be involved in the bridge repair. My update from Gemini is, so we have a plan of action that was issued by the FDOT. And they are they're under the Federal Highway Administration regulations, and they gave us a notice that issued the bridge as designated as scour critical, and it outlines the conditions and countermeasures that may be needed for what it could possibly the significance of the scouring that we may have, but we don't know what the significance that is. So the last full scour analysis was performed in 2013 by FDOT. And the latest notice suggested that they're suggesting that we've experienced 7 feet in addition of the scouring, but we do not know that. But with this finding that they put on us, the bridge is scour critical. It could have up to 7.1 feet of scouring since 2013. There's been some deterioration of the beams, the abutments, the piles. Every 2 years, we have been replacing and patching over some of this replacement, and where the concrete is spalling, we've been patching it. So the FDOT recommends scour countermeasures such as articulated in the concrete block, such as articulated concrete block or riprap found out of the estimate. So what the next step is going to be is we need to do a non-destructive testing to the piles to find out the extent of the scouring. And right now we're talking to a company in Orlando that does these measurements. And they use, I believe, sonic measurement to tell how much embedment you still have left with the piers. So right now, cost speculation for this study is about $25,000 to $50,000. But that is the next step. If it's over 25,000, then we'll have to go through the bidding process to get this service done for us. But that will tell us the information we do need to continue with the repairs. In best case scenario, the scour is less than what they're anticipating. We hope for that, but it could be just as bad as they said and could need some major repairs. So, when we look at this capital expenditure, just ranking I put together, we want to anticipate that we're going to have a significant cost to repair the 22nd Street Bridge, if not what I would consider a more major cost, like upwards of $400,000 to $500,000, which could be a major overhaul to the bridge if scouring is that bad, but we have to find that out first. So I'd like to cover this capital projects ranking I put together. The original one was done by the former Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn. And I took that and kind of took it to where we are today and tried to consolidate it and make sense in my own mind of how our funds work and how I would categorize these different projects into groups and rank them. So if we start on the far left, your first column is just an identifier column with numbers to make it easy to track. But then I try to list out each project's fund. We have 4 funds. We have the general fund, capital fund, stormwater fund, and marina fund. And that's critical in understanding the budget. So I started by, color coding that and listing out each fund so you can reference that. And then I looked at all the projects, and looking at the capital projects, the general projects, some fall under stormwater, some fall under capital projects, some fall under the general fund, and then you got the marina. But when I looked at all these, we have a lot that fall under infrastructure category, and that's mainly our capital projects. But within that infrastructure, some of them are larger replacements, but we also have the programs that we do the yearly repairs. So since Causeway lights, the Harrison Avenue bridge repairs, and the 22nd Street bridge repairs are more of annual as needed, I separated those out from the other capital infrastructure projects. So then that left us with what you'll see at the top is the yellow, which is again the annual repair projects, and then you'll have the red, which is our capital infrastructure projects, and then the green is more building and equipment replacement. So things that either we have like buoys out in the Gulf, we got mowers we use to mow our parks regularly, or the things that we need for this building, such as the AC, keep it running. Those all fall under this category. And they're savings to replace either an item, a piece of equipment, a vehicle, or some element of the building that needs a major overhaul. So you have these 2 main groups. The outlier is going to be your repair programs, and then at the very bottom I have the marina, one project we have in there. I separated that out because the marina, as you know, is a enterprise fund. It's more of a business. This is kind of as things break, we need to repair. So that's really the priority ranking and treating it differently. So if you look at all the capital infrastructure, which would be in your pinkish red, and then all your green, which is going to be a replacement for equipment building. I went down to I think it's the 7th column over, and you'll see staff rank. So from there, once I got them grouped off where I thought they were in like for like categories, I tried to rank them in the order of importance, that if we had to, what would have to come first before another. And my reasoning was pretty straightforward. You would see at the very top, we do have the 22nd Street Bridge followed by the Harrison Avenue Bridge. And I have those before street resurfacing. And the reason obviously is the bridge. We need the bridge to travel. The people need the bridge to get to the island. It's a must. That would come before the condition of the roads, or even like the drainage in the roads. So I think maintaining access to all our islands is first and foremost, and followed by street resurfacing. I put that up there because to me, it's an element of the city that needs to be kept up and is very important. Again, roads and infrastructure, and it's something that we already have. It's an asset that is in place that needs to be replaced and kept up for the city's use. So I have the streets listed as a number 2. And for each of these, I tried to spread out over a 1 to 5 spectrum, so I wanted to have some ones all the way down to 5, and it doesn't deminimize any of the lower ranked, it's just that's where they fall in the order. And then followed after streets, then I have the seawall replacement. And then we have the 9th Street Pump Project as a number 2. And then Place Valley curbs as number 3, and then followed by citywide streetlights and the Gulf Boulevard beautification program. The reason I have that at the bottom is because that is money that is part of a program that's given to us. That if we do the project that they allocated the money for, then we can get that reimbursement, but it may not be necessarily something that we have planned regardless in the future, or it also, like, for instance, the undergrounding was a project that ended up costing us about $1 million more than what was given back to us. So that's the reason why that program got placed at the bottom of the ranking. And then I did the same thing with the equipment, and then self-explanatory. I thought that the equipment was a good exercise because it really made me think of what we must have if we really had to cut down or cut the budget. And when we talk about things like our ad valorem reducing, our revenues reducing, you know, we would cut our costs in the operating, which I've kept pretty slim over the last 3 years. But the majority of where we would cut to save would be coming out of equipment, in my mind. So I would be reducing the equipment prices, but I kept that in order of importance. Obviously, the things that keep this building in operation are going to come before some of the outside stuff that we use in the parks. But there is key equipment that I ranked the things we would need most, which would be at least 1 Zemo or a large utility truck. And then moving down the list, that's kind of I reasoned it out. So I don't. It may make sense here, I'm just looking at it. If there's any question of why one's in front of the other, I'd be happy to explain it, but I felt this exercise just kind of put everything in an order, and we kind of prioritize what would be most important, you know, moving forward, if again, we had to make cuts. The one section that is different is you're going to see the streets listed out, and I tried to incorporate the groups of streets that are left in our index that we have not repaved. And did a pavement calculation for those groups. I kept them in location proximity. This was the original kind of layout of how I had these streets getting paved in the future. They don't have to be paved in this group. But what I wanted to show is that if we were to pave this first group that is all listed under 2028, I put 2028 because the calculations I have to resurface all that road is going to be about $275,000. So 2028 at our current $75,000 per year, it would be that year that we would have that money built up. Again, this is just for planning purposes. If we had a road that was way worse that we felt needed to be prioritized over every other, that could be segmented out of this group and afforded. I just wanted to make that clear. So this is just kind of my latest planning and how I laid it out, but there's room for flexibility. It was kind of a lot I just covered, but just to cover some of the other columns, you know, your target year is when we expect to spend. You know, the bridge is the big one. That's why I highlighted it yellow, because that's going to be a major expense this upcoming year. Some of these other ones, I put 2026 on the pump project. You know, we talked about putting it in the budget. I want to mention that Gemini Engineering is putting in for a Resilient Florida grant, but it's through the FDEP for that project. So we hope to turn that into a reimbursement for the city. And then
Which project?
for the 9th Street Pump Project, we have an
Okay,
FDEP
And
grant
also,
application we're putting in, and we're going to do one for the bridge as well for Resilient Florida.
Both bridges, or
Just the 22nd Street.
why not Harrison?
Because Harrison is currently in good shape. We had that inspected about 2 months ago, and it came back. The last time it was repaired was in 2019, and it's held up well.
So you're saying they're good till 2050 now?
That's just my best guess right now.
All right.
I can get an engineering opinion on that, but that's just looking at the numbers for me. So as far as where I put totally earmarked in 2026, so that's going to be the money that in the past budgets we have saved every year, and that's how much we've built up in each of those projects. And then the funding beyond is just taking all those numbers that were in the out years, plus some of them said 2030 and beyond, and combining all that. And that which gave us our total project projected cost for each project. And then I tried to incorporate the life cycles that we have on those project sheets to give an idea of how, how that project would cycle when we need to do it again. And I mean, there's some little nuances in between with some cells that I kind of split out, like for the roof project, I split out the difference between the aluminum roof and the bitumen roof, and for the carpet, same thing for one side of the building versus the other, because it doesn't necessarily mean we'd have to redo the whole building at one time.
Thank you, Mr. Reefler. Before we go around the council and we make comments, I'd like to add my own comments, which are, as you all know, the governor is hell-bent on doing something with property tax reform. While at the Florida League of Cities, I saw a presentation from someone who was actually on one of the committees. And basically, they've been given 5 options. All 5 suck. As far as the municipalities are concerned, they suck. For the homeowner who hates paying taxes, it sounds pretty damn sweet. But in all reality, if they're not educated and that's a bad word to say. It's not that they're uneducated, it's that they're not educated on where taxes go and what they're used for, if they are for eliminating or even destroying the municipal level of municipal property taxes. Unfortunately, whatever it is, it's going to be on a ballot in 2026. And they're still hashing out what that option is, but as Tom can probably testify to this, none of it smells very good for us. So as we're looking through this list, keep in mind that this may be one of the last 1 or 2 years where we're actually in control of our own budget. Currently we control the millage rate that applies to our community, and we determine how to spend it. As you all know, Florida DOGE is checking into everything, and I think it all ties together. Everyone asks about what's the alternative? How do you offset this spending? Well, the only thing that I can come up with is that the state of Florida figures out another way to tax the homeowner, but maybe under a sales tax or something like that. And what that means is that the state of Florida now is the purveyor of taxes and revenues. And so little communities like Bel Air Beach may very well be begging for handouts instead of being able to effectively and responsibly managing our own budget. It may just be dictated to us that these storm drain projects or bridge repairs, that's not needed. Air conditioner, you need to figure out your own source of revenue. Unfortunately, we're in a situation that's very unique. We're one of the last remaining communities in Florida that really has no other revenue except for what we got. And so I want everyone to be very mindful as we're going through these projects. You see anything that's absolutely not immediately necessary and you think that we should actually kick it down the road until we know what our future holds for us, I highly recommend doing that. Ultimately, this council will have to reach a consensus on whatever we decide, but I'm sure there are many ways that we can tighten up our belts and and prepare for the worst. Hopefully, it won't be the worst and it won't go through, but I just have a feeling that whenever you're talking about property taxes, especially as much as I pay for property taxes, people that aren't in municipal government are just going to run, not walk, but run to the ballot box and vote for that. So that in mind, would anyone like to speak?
Ask a question.
Let's start with you, Mr. Harper.
I just want a question of clarification. So I look at the projection here and I see an allocation of, it's like 1,000,000. I actually see, but 1,369,25 allocated to capital projects.
Mhm.
So of that 1,316,000, is that coming off of any of the sheet or is that money to be allocated from this sheet?
Well, so that very first year is 2025. That's our base year that we're in right now.
Okay, so this is 1,210,000.
Yep, 1,210,000, and that comes from this schedule here. So from the budget document that I had sent you, the current year budget.
Okay.
Which is a combination of it, actually, most of these are just the savings plans. Other than, with the exception of rebudgeting the Gulf Boulevard beautification project. But that's exactly where you can pick up that number from.
Perfect.
You
Okay.
want this paper?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. That helps. That helped a lot.
I had an interpretive question also, if I may.
Sure.
Kyle, really appreciate how you prioritize things. I know that's a very difficult process. And it's a huge help that you did that. My question is there a break-even point? As far as if we went down the list and started doing our first priority projects and going through the levels of priorities, is there a point at which we can fund those and still be within budget?
In other words, could you allocate all the priority ones and have budget left over, or would category one consume all the budget?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's a very good question. All of it, when I initially saw this schedule that he prepared, I about jumped out of my seat. I thought that he was saying that he wanted to do all of these projects this year, which is not actually
Correct.
what he's proposing. He's saying that the priority ones are more important than the priority 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So like when we go down this list and everything that says 2026, that's when I was gonna go into his office and say, what are you talking about? And he, to my understanding, we're not intending to do all of these projects in 2026. That's as soon as we could potentially do them if we had to, if that is the council's will. And we do have the money to cover them. As Ron said, you are very financially sound, but also, as the mayor said, we need to be very smart with our money. And I appreciate what you said, and I agree with you very much. So, so before you guys go around and you tell what you want to be done, I'm going to tell you what I would like to be done. To echo what Kyle said, the 22nd Street Bridge, best case scenario, we can have it repaired. Worst case scenario, it's serious rebuilding type repairs. So I would like to see that in there. We're okay with the amount that we've saved up to do the streetlights on Bay Shore and the buoys.
Where are you at?
These are my notes.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, yeah. So
Those
one down the
are
list is
your lists.
Causeway Lighting was your next.
Just numbers, if you would.
Give us,
Line 14 is the buoys
Line 14 is the buoys.
and the streetlights are 10.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's just based on my conversations with Kyle. He knows your city. He knows what needs to be done. That's how he was able to create this comprehensive list and rank them. I put a lot of weight into his opinion. The same, I put a lot of weight into your guys' opinion too. But all these other things like he mentioned, you know, in the green section, maybe we don't need all that stuff right now. And to, again, repeat the mayor's point, we don't know how long we're going to have the discretion to do all of this. So everybody's got a chance to chime in, but again, I have to incorporate your wishes for this budget. Pretty lickety split.
Thank you. Councilmembers Wellings and Shirley, do you have any comments? I can't really tell if your hand is raised or something red up there, but raise your hand if you'd like to speak. No?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Both of you, all right.
oh, okay.
Yellow hand.
Go ahead. Councilmember Wellings.
Oh, they hit
Okay.
me. Goodbye.
Yeah, Mary, you were saying that, there's a good chance we might not get this money next year. I mean, I'm sorry that this is going to go on the ballot in 2026 about the way the municipality can get revenue. What happens to all the money that we have in general reserve if that were the case? I mean, and I guess where I'm headed is like it's use it or lose it. Is that the potential mentality also something to be considered?
So because it was collected with a reason. But I would say that what would happen is they would go after future funds.
Right. Okay. So what would you think? I mean, to me, that would tell me, if I'm understanding you correctly, that, there could be some more incentive to use it because I don't know. Oh, you're thinking that we would be able to hold on to those funds and we would be able to direct it?
Yeah.
Or I get the impression that we wouldn't even have anything to do with it. It would just be handed back to the state and they would do whatever they want to
So
do.
it didn't come from the state. It came from us, and it's our money.
So they would be forced to keep it in a place that only applied to us?
I don't think that's the case at all. I think that whatever funds we've collected over the past few years, they're ours, and we would continue to use them the way that they were intended. I think going forward in the future is where it's unpredictable and very risky. So what we have now, we know we've got, but in the future, we don't know what we're going to collect.
Right.
Councilmember Shirley?
So when I'm looking at the capital projects funds, it's my opinion, we just halt all capital projects until we determine how the city moves forward with funding, if we're going to have any ad valorem taxes coming in or not, with the exception of the 22nd Street Bridge, because we have to do that as a condition of having the bridge in our city. We can't allow that to go down. But other than that, I'm not in support of spending any money on capital projects at all.
Would that be if it's on the ballot in 26, it probably would not be in effect until 27, 28?
I don't know.
Might not even get on the ballot.
No.
I mean, this is just.
Jody,
Scott.
my only hesitation on that, Jody, is do we sit and wait for 2 years? Yeah. I don't think so, but.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
So I understand the concern about the possibility of our revenue decreasing in the future years. So I get that. Personally, I feel like, especially with certain capital projects, if we don't spend the money now that's allocated for certain projects, it may significantly increase 3 years down the road. And we may create some scenarios where it's, not to be dramatic, but almost be catastrophic because we don't fix something or replace something when we need to, as opposed to an emergency scenario type of a deal. Kyle, are any of our bridges under basically the control of the state? Because I know some bridges, if they exceed certain loads and certain distances, the state actually is involved.
That's what the 22nd Street Bridge is, because it's over 25 feet. So the
Okay.
state is involved with inspections. I don't know their legal involvement beyond that, but it's probably something
Okay.
that they have control
But
of.
does that make sense what I'm saying? If we say, let's not spend any money and then things deteriorate because of that. And then we wait 2 years or 3 years down the road and say, okay, now let's fix it. The additional costs due to damage or not maintaining it the way we may normally have is going to cost us a lot more money. And to me, my gut feel was to really feel that pain. But then secondly, I thought, I think we should go ahead and fix everything that needs to be fixed. If we don't get money in the future years, we're gonna have to figure out some additional revenue anyway that the state can assist us in. But I don't think we're really helping the city by just having money drawing interest, as small as it may be, and not doing things that we normally would have done. And then we say, okay, now, effectively, we may have lost a lot more money by putting it off. So that's my take on it. You know, I sat in the same session that the mayor did. And we heard the same words being used. There's 5 options and none of them are pretty. And I also agree when people see that this is an opportunity to decrease your property taxes, most people, without really thinking it through all the way, well, how's that going to impact our town or our city, are going to say, cool, we're going to have less taxes. That's all good. Until they realize that, well, the roads aren't going to be as nice, the parks aren't going to be as nice, different things that the city provides is not going to be able to do that. So it's going to be upon us to help educate everybody. Like even if our city voted 100% to not do the option or vote against it, whatever it might be, that doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure it's a statewide deal. So everybody in our town can say, well, we're against this, and it probably won't matter if the balance of the state is in favor of it. We're just a small part. But again, that's just my take on the projects. I don't think we're gaining anything by just holding that money until we find out what the state does. I think we should still proceed with the projects that we think are going to benefit our city. And if down the road it gets tough, then we just have to deal with it. But letting those projects cause problems for our city, I don't think is a good choice at this time.
Who else? Councilmember Bankard.
First of all, if property taxes come to a vote, Floridians are going to be bombarded with commercials on how these are going to be eliminated and what you're going to be paying in the future to subsidize the property taxes that you're paying now. So I'm not worried about any of this. They're not going to do any more projects, capital projects, until this is hammered out. Let's just give everybody back their tax money. I mean, why collect it if we're not going to use it? There's projects here that need to be done. I was just out this past Saturday. I was 100% for this 9th Street pump, but then when it didn't get put in during the reconstruction of 9th Street, I got phone calls Saturday morning, come and look at my street, 7th Street. This is 7th Street at 2:10 p.m. This is 9th Street at the same time. No water. Go down to first. I got pictures for every street. First street to the tree streets. All right. First Street was pretty much of a mess. 6th Street was actually dry. And 4th Street, that they were really great. I mean, I don't know what they did, but if you look at the original plans that Gemini or whatever the engineering company was back when they did these jobs 5 years ago. And as we discussed this at the last meeting, they never repaired the pipes. The pipes are now leaking. And if they would have just raised the pipes and some of these other streets, just raised them 6 inches, 6 inches, because this is now at 2.8 feet. 9th Street is now cleaned out. All right, doesn't have any water in it. 7th Street, which the drop off is too low, okay? It doesn't start draining until 2.8 feet, okay? This is a total mess. Now, if they would have just raised that 6 inches in your street and by the other streets, we wouldn't probably even need check valves, let alone pumps. So this is all done completely wrong. And I was lied to by the former city manager when I first got on council, and I bitched about this. I said, it's worse now than it was before the check valves were installed. And he said, oh, we would have had to go through a yard, raise the pipes and all like that. If he gave me the impression if new pipes were in, I didn't find out till the last couple of weeks. We left in 50+ year old pipes that are now leaking. It's a total mess. And as some neighbors are saying, this is highly unacceptable, and it is highly unacceptable. I mean, this road is going into this guy's driveway, and this wasn't even a bad storm. I mean, this is only 1.8 inches of rain. And this is a total mess. And we're gonna just sit here and say, we're gonna spend $695,000 on 9th Street. But 9th Street is a problem, but it's not the major problem in the city, and we ought to reconstruct. We ought to spend our money, as you would say, wisely, okay? And put this back under the planning. And if it takes a year, takes 6 months, takes 2 years, let's spend the $695,000 wisely instead of foolishly, because I would not vote for this right now.
Frank, you may not be aware that there was a temporary pump on 9th Street over that time. And so to me, that showed that the pump concept should work. There was a temporary pump there and
But I
it
got-
diverted the water just as though under the project proposed, it would do. So that was a huge help and the streets flooded today. So,
My street was flooded.
yeah, so
7th Street was worse, okay?
But-
And
I think,
like I said, let's fix the streets. Everything from 14th Street down needs to be fixed, maybe 16th Street. But 9th Street, just putting one pump in at 9th Street is a foolish move. All right, when you should be discharging this is stormwater, okay, that has to be lifted out. And you can run I talked to MWI pumps and everything like that. You can lift this out with maybe a pump and a charging pump and get rid of everything.
Okay, so, Mr. Bankard, would you mind summarizing what it is that you'd like to do with this budget in
I think we should.
one short paragraph?
We go forward with the projects, the capital projects, the 22nd Street Bridge. I don't want to tax the people on 22nd Street to do their bridge like we were talking about with the pumps. I think we need to take the $695,000, whatever it cost is for 9th Street and re-examine that. That's a major, major cost.
All right, thank you very much. Kim, you were speaking. What are your recommendations?
I really feel like I need more information. I would like to see how far we can get down the priorities and still be within budget. I mean, it's a huge amount of work and a lot of consternation to be able to provide these priorities. So I think that's a really good thing that has happened here. But how far will it take us instead of just nitpicking in each and every project?
And Kyle, this list right now, this is laid out within our budget. Is that right?
These are all the current projects that I ranked in the order of importance. Now, in our current budget, we're planning on a major bridge repair, so that will be included in the 2026 budget, as well as the last we heard of for the pump station was to add that into the 26.
Yes, but what I'm hearing is that you're saving a little bit for each one of these projects. Some of them are sooner than later. And we've Heather, it's in the budget currently. All of these items are in the budget in some way or
In
another.
some way or another, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So provided that nothing were to change and we were to continue moving forward with the way that we are now, eventually all of these would come up.
Mhm.
Okay.
In the time frame that is suggested here?
Not necessarily, no. I get what you're saying, but I think that what you're asking is for me to tell you how fast you could do all of these projects and spend all of your money. Is that right?
I think it was like 1 through 10. What of the 1 through 10 can I accomplish with the money allocated?
Yeah, based on exactly what's here. And this year we do this and this year we do that. How far can we get down the line and still be in budget?
Well, but I think that's the problem with, I think what you're wanting me to do when you say in budget, do you mean 20% of your fund balance? Do you mean all of the money that you have? You know, the budget is subject to what we put in there.
But that we don't exceed our revenue, shall we say, or that we
Okay.
don't exceed our assets, that we're not deficit spending. We
I see.
have reserves. We have programs to continue to fund reserves, but here we're gonna be spending down some of them as projected here over timelines that are already specified here. So how far along can we get and still not be in a deficit situation and still being adequately funded as a city?
Well, so based on the projected cost of these projects, the capital projects fund, that's where we need to account for it because these are capital projects.
Right?
The capital projects fund cannot pay for those.
That'd be,
It cannot pay for those. It doesn't have enough money. It doesn't have enough in that fund to pay for those.
Little general fund supplement.
So the general fund is, we already know that the general fund is gonna have to kick in and help cover that.
okay,
Whether it's a capital project or a stormwater project.
and that's in part what it's for, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
that's good. We've reserved, that's a good thing.
So you've got general fund allocating in 2029 to capital, and you've got allocating to stormwater in 2026.
Immediately into the stormwater fund if you do that pump project,
Right.
correct? And then if you were going to incorporate any of these large projects in the capital projects fund, it's very likely that I'll have to show an interfund transfer right away in 26 from the general fund. So like I mentioned a little bit earlier, in the capital projects fund, you have the non-ad valorem special assessments for the Bellevue Estates Island for the undergrounding. You have interest income. And you have the penny money. That is the revenue that comes into the capital projects fund. So that's why, you know, those revenue sources, they're not enough to pay for these. So that's why we need to tap into the general fund revenues. In 26, excuse me, we're projecting general fund revenues of like $3.3 million.
So if I'm reading this right, you're saying expenditures for capital projects would be 1.36 for the year with a revenue of 194. So we would have to supplement 300,000 from general to accomplish that expenditure.
Well, in that year, 2026, the revenue would be the 3.57 and the expenditure is 3.61. A lot of what makes up that revenue in 26 is the Gulf Boulevard reimbursement money.
Got
So that's why there's such a big dip in the schedule from 26 to 27.
Got
And also I want to mention too, like the bulk of our conversation today are these capital projects, but that's not the only thing that goes on in the city. We have regular operating expenditures, we have payroll, we have personnel costs, we have repairs, we have upkeep of the building and the marina and, you know, all the other assets that you have. So I can understand what you're saying and maybe we can do that at some point to tell you. If we were to go down the list of the ranked projects, how fast we would deplete all of your reserves. And unfortunately, like I said, I just don't have the time to do that, get it in front of you and get back the budget for 26 in a timely manner.
I think that's information we need. I don't understand how we can do that without prioritizing what we have available and looking at what those expenditures would do.
Are you trying to, do you have like a minimum you want to keep in reserves and spend down to that point, and we can figure that out for you?
Whatever I think in a professional opinion, a reserve is adequate. I can't determine that.
I need everybody to stay closer to their microphone so that people out.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, like the amount of what each council member is comfortable with could vary. As far as what we're keeping unassigned reserves, you know.
I think it's fair to ask for some professional based recommendations for what would be adequate and sound practice. You know, we're not all CPAs or accountants here, so that would be helpful. But forgive me, I was off Mike before, but I think it's an essential piece of information for us to be able to determine what expenditures can be made in order of priority within the dates that are allocated, in the amounts that are allocated, and still be within sound funding.
I definitely understand what you're trying to get at, and I can appreciate that. So in the capital projects fund in particular, you have debt service that you have to maintain those debt payments. We have the ongoing savings plans and a little bit in operating expenses. The amount that I'm projecting for the annual revenue will cover the debt service and the operating expenses. The piece that you can adjust is the capital projects. So for example, like in 26, I'm saying in this, like it's the small page where it has the capital fund projections. In the capital projects fund by itself, I'm saying that you'll have about $427,000. So if that's the number that you're wanting to key off of, that would be, I think, the answer to your question.
Because the Gulf Boulevard is already committed and reimbursed from the county, so.
Yeah, so I put the revenue in and then I put the corresponding expenditure in.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I understand the purpose of this meeting. All right, we've been presented with staff ranking of capital projects, general, building maintenance, stormwater, things like that. And are we being asked to change the ranking on this? Because we can't just take all this and plug it into what we think the budget should be. That's actually up to you guys. But is that the purpose of this presentation? Is what is it exactly? Because I think we're missing some guidance here.
So what we need to know is what projects need to be funded this year for the budget. So which projects are we going to
So what are the,
plan on spending? And we know
The
that there was
absolutes.
gonna be one, and I plan on putting 500,000 for that.
Right, and so, for instance, the 22nd Street Bridge, we don't know if it needs to be replaced or if it needs to be repaired. So that's a huge difference between repair and replace, and we don't have that, we don't have the answer. Either way, it sounds like we have to do the bare minimum, which is to repair it. It sounds like this is based upon what I'm seeing, it's every other year we have to repair the bridge. The same goes with Harrison Bridge. There's just maintenance and upkeep that goes along with it. I see that because it's our only conduit in and out of these two islands. We have no choice. So you just go right on past that. And now we look at the causeway light repairs. If you've ever been across that bridge while it's dark, it's pretty scary. You don't want to be on that bridge with no lights. So that there again, this is public safety and security. You have to have these things. And so there's no getting out of those. And those are no brainers. And then you get down the street resurfacing. Well, that's a nice to have. One of my goals whenever I was first elected was to see if we could get every street paved because we're Bel Air Beach. But if it turns out that we're okay with what we've got and we can limp along for a little while longer, maybe it's not as near at the top, it should be at the top of the list like it is right now. Then you've got the citywide seawall replacement. Absolutely. These are things that you can't get out of. They have to be repaired or replaced. Solar testing with citywide streetlights. You know what? We can kick that one down the road. And I totally understand why it's a number 4 right now. Again, it'd be something really nice to have, but it's certainly not something that we have to have right now because we have much more pressing issues that we need to take care of. In the top of the list that is not showing right now, I see stormwater and it's in blue. I guess that's because it's partially funded with the stormwater maintenance fee. But we've got check valves and damaged pipes. These things should be in the top of our list. We shouldn't even think about it because these are items that we expect to work. Whenever they're damaged and they're not working properly, no excuse. This city is better than that. As far as the pump project goes, you know, I've kind of been on the fence with it one way or the other. We have promised this community that we would do a test on it. I don't know if Ninth Street is the very best. I've been going on what the engineers have said. Mr. Baker seems to think otherwise. Does anyone else think that Ninth Street is the wrong place?
I think Ninth Street has the infrastructure to do the test, but I think Seventh Street is a higher priority.
Okay, well, so I'm glad to hear that. Others, does anyone else feel that way?
Anders and Jody have their hand up.
Yes, Councilmember Shirley.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so I'm not gonna say that I've been down there as frequently as I should, but I have not seen standing water on 9th Street. I've made attempts to travel the roads when we had high tide, because clearly every street's affected with high tide. These are not rain events, they're high tide events that are causing the flooding in the street. And I'm not seeing a lot of water in the street on 9th. So, I mean, my gut feeling is, you know, maybe that's not the street. I also say I went down many of the other streets at the same time and didn't see any. Even when we had flash flood warnings, I didn't see a significant amount of water in the streets. So maybe I'm hitting the wrong time. Clearly, you know, I'm not seeing the need for the pump if we get those check valves in place.
And I would agree with you that, you know, 9th Street sounded like I think they're all worthy. They're all worthy because we need to run a pilot on something. We certainly wanted to do something with the worst. Unfortunately, we still have other problems that are not repaired, that are affecting over half the community. And we need to get these things fixed, cleaned up, straightened out, all of our check valves working properly, the leaky pipes fixed. I would love to raise them all up, Frank, but
I just showed you a picture, same time span. Here's 6th Street, bone dry.
Yep.
Bone dry.
Yeah, I got you.
Say something here, though. We are now replacing anecdotal information with real facts and real science that our engineers have provided us. We worked over a year on getting a report. We held the report while we asked for more information, more mathematical, engineering-related real information, and projected it. And now we're replacing that with anecdotal things about what
For 9th Street. We didn't ask for it for 2nd Street. We didn't ask for it for 7th Street.
covered the entire area.
Okay, all right, one at a time.
There were projections on those reports that covered the entire area and looked at the flood conditions and made hypothetical assumptions based on their mathematical engineering opinions. So I don't think now is the time to replace that with what some people think they saw or didn't see, or saw at a particular time and didn't see somewhere else. And I'll raise this just as a point to hold. Because I know there's been discussion about an assessment for 9th Street. And I am strongly against assessments for any kind of public improvement project within the city, because it benefits everyone. And if we want to look at who's benefited, I mean, you look at things like, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, but okay, well, if people can't get with the Harrison Avenue Bridge, well, then maybe those people should pay for the bridge. I'm not suggesting that, but the analogy is the same. And we have here a street which at the very beginning of this project, before some of the members that are now with us were not on the panel, we talked about the fact that it is the street that goes to our city park. It is a major street in terms of access to this building and to some of the facilities that are here. And that's in part why it was picked, but it was also supported by an engineering opinion. So that's my view there.
Kim, I'm not here to argue over which street deserves the love. Okay, that's not what this is about. I'm all for a pump project, and we've done a lot of planning and preparing for the Ninth Street project. However, I would not spend a penny on a pump until the check valves and the pipes are working properly on the rest of the streets. And that's just the way that I feel about it.
That's incredibly important. And that, I thought that was supposed to be finished within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
What is the status of that, Kyle?
Actively working on that. I can give you a full update on each valve.
Yeah, I think that's in play.
Yeah. Do you want to go over all that right now?
1 second, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. So Kyle, I know we talked about this before. I brought it up in the meeting as well. And my simple question was that if all the check valves were in and working like they're supposed to, and we know they can, and any intrusion that's also occurring out there was fixed, which we've kind of just more recently taken a look at those things. But if those things are working, and just like the mayor said, if they're working, these pictures we're seeing today, would they be there now?
I can't say there would be no water because the rain's eventually going to build up in the pipes and overflow it, but it's going to be a lot better situation.
But
We saw that on nine.
is this a fair statement?
I'll start working a little bit.
Is this a fair statement that the water that we're seeing now that's coming into the street is the salt water that's coming from the Intercoastal Canal because the check valves either aren't there or they're not working properly?
Not working properly. On the worst examples there, you're still getting salt water mixed into that freshwater rain. We've had a lot of rain in the last week too.
Sure. But we know that that's the way it's supposed to operate. If the check valves are working and everything's functioning the way it's supposed to, we know then if the high tide comes up, the valves will close. And if we have a rainstorm like we're seeing this past week, we are going to have some water in the streets because it can't go out of the outfall. But it's typically not going to be significant unless we have, 40 days and 40 nights or something come through here. But
We're almost there, by the way.
because as soon as the tide goes down and the gate opens, whatever water is in the street is going to go right back out into the intercoastal. So that's the way it's supposed to work. The purpose, I know we're not going to talk about the pump too much, but the purpose of the pump was for something much larger.
One more second, City Manager Riefler, Anders, you have your hand raised. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm unmuted there. Okay. Yeah, so Mayor, as you were going through that list, you were basically repeating exactly what I was thinking. So as you were going down and I think you went, my vote is to go with, like you said, 1, 2, 3 items, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, I would agree that we also need to put the check valves and the pipe repairs in there. That should be in the list for the 26 budget. I would like to put the pump project in there as well. I'm open to, relooking at, whether we're doing the right street, whether we should combine the 2 streets with a pipe and just get them all done, because I think we're really close in price. But anyway, that's kind of where my opinion was. Hit all these number ones, except for the really far out ones, I think. I think it's definitely like some of the buoy ones. We could maybe, I think we said we really felt we needed to do that one. But anyway, so want to just say that I was agreeing with where you were landing there, Mr. Mayor.
I thank you, City Manager Riefler. Would you like to give that update?
Okay.
And then we're going to take a quick break, all right?
Yeah. There's. Okay, so we're on Tuesday last week, we started on 9th Street and that valve went in that evening. And then we measured the following day and that it was holding back more, like I reported in the email that it was holding back more than it had. And we did experience the 3.3 and it did not come out of the drain. But it did fluctuate. So we didn't know that there is some
Size pump were you using? Friday,
We
Saturday.
we weren't using a pump, we were just monitoring the
Yeah,
check
no
valve.
pump.
I think the pump she was referencing was in the truck when we were doing it
Yeah.
anyway. So then on Wednesday, we proceeded to cut the plastic CIPP out of the remainder of the valves. We focused on that and also got in 13th Street that day. And then Thursday, we did more cutting, couldn't get through all of it. And Friday night, they got in 12th Street. So 4th Street has no valve currently. So starting at 9th, right now at 9th, we know it is working to an extent, but I have video of the water making it past between the pipe and the valve. So we know that there is more sealing that needs to be done to that pipe. It's just a matter of when the water is gonna be low enough that we can get in there to seal it. The good news on that is it's about a foot higher on the higher side of the pipe, so it won't need as low of water. That's where the most significant part of the water is coming in. I can't guarantee it's gonna seal off everything. There could be some infiltration coming beneath the water we can't see. But it will definitely improve it by a lot. And then same thing on 12th. I feel pretty good about 13th. I haven't videoed either. But I am certain that there is infiltration there still, and I think it is 12th. Because I think they got in too late, weren't able to seal it well on the bottom on Friday night, and that's where it's gonna need it. Again, it's just gonna need more when it's dry. I have some different products I'd like to experiment with, but I'm monitoring the tide. I'm trying to get in there. I'm trying to seal it. So that's kind of where we're going with that. We haven't stopped or haven't, reduced our efforts. We're just trying to get it done. And then if you go so again, I feel good about 13th, 12th, and these more sealing, but I'd like before pulling in another camera truck. Each time it costs us, around $5,000 to camera these pipes. I'd like to get some mud on it and some measurements before I spend more money on cameraing. But like I said, these are actively getting repaired. Money is being spent on them. Cameras are getting called out. So until we have all these, which with 7th and 8th Street, I consider an emergency repair because we're at the point where we're discovering that we have a lot of infiltration coming through the pipes on 8th Street, and I have Gemini coordinating CIPP liner to make those repairs. But that, it's not really at this point a project that's going to go on this list. It's an emergency repair coming out of our operating costs. So in knowing going into the next budget year, we're, where we end up, we could put more money into our 538-06-460, which is repair, maintenance, and stormwater, to anticipate those costs coming.
And the 7th and 8th, the pipe that Mr. Bankert is referring to that's too low. Where is that pipe located at?
He's talking about the 7th Street outfall.
7th Street.
So we currently, that's another point. The same time we had the camera out there, we did verify that the valve that we put in, the short valve, 7th Street in the manhole is completely sealed and holding back the water. So we did verify that's perfect.
Okay, so it is working properly.
Yes, but you got all the infiltration on 8th Street that needs to be repaired.
The problem is with, if it's too low, then unless it's totally empty out there, does the valve ever open? Does it just hold back rain?
It opens at 2.8. It starts draining.
At 2.8, well, that's not terrible.
No, it's like what we just experienced. We won't hit 2.8 for 4 hours.
Right.
So if you
So if
get,
it's raining, your street's gonna fill up.
now if you're today, you'll hit 2.8 in and out. Is what was high tide, like 3 foot or 2.9, something like that.
It wasn't very high.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why where I'm going with this is there a possibility of just replacing that pipe and raising it?
If they ask an engineer, I believe when they first studied it, they had their reasons. I don't know all the information.
I think it was done cheaply. That's why
I don't think so. I don't think you can do that. You'd have to so much of the line is way deep, all the way down the road. I think it's a full grade to get to where it is. I think if you raise that, it's going to have to go uphill to go out.
Is below that is very low. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying the pipe. Yeah, if you raise it on the outfall there, I think you're just going to trap water in the drains.
And is that the lowest pipe in the city?
I'd have to look. I don't know.
Okay.
for certain.
I
just
mean,
don't-
this is only on for seventh and eighth, there are the, they're the only two streets together managing that pipe, that's going through that pipe. We're not sharing it. But I guess that your question could be broader just to see if there's other problems elsewhere, but
Yeah. Well, I'm
it's
just,
not.
just asking questions.
Yeah.
Just
Hey, Kyle, can I ask a question?
one additional
Go ahead.
question, just to think about Anders and Kyle, when you're looking at those two streets, is maybe a larger pipe. Maybe we can't raise the pipe, but if we get a larger pipe that allows more capacity, will that help solve some of the issue?
Thank you.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, I think we can think about it. My gut tells me, though, we got more than enough pipe size to drain. Our problem isn't that we can't drain the water, other than that the tide is high and it can't go anywhere. It can flow if it's allowed to, but the water level is just too high.
Well,
But
which is the whole purpose of the pump, what we were talking about, the reasoning for the pump. All right, Mr. Reefler, please continue.
Okay, so I mean, where that puts us though is, we still need to do more sealing, specifically on 9th Street and 12th Street, to get those, which were part of the original stormwater project, valves back working and in place. For 4th Street, that still has a remainder of a jagged piece of PVC lining on the bottom. Wednesday evening, it got down to about 4 inches. We burned through like 2 pneumatic air saws trying to cut through. We couldn't get through it. We came up with the idea after that, for the following day, but it never got low enough. But we were going to sandbag one end, plug the other, put the band over the sandbag, and then pump the water out to get in there and cut it. But it never got low enough to execute that. So we're planning on, that is our plan when we get to that point. Another option I have for 4th Street is I still have the short bodied 18-inch valve that was down at 8th Street or 18th Street that could go into the inlet at the road at 4th Street to prevent backflow. Because I don't know the next time that we're gonna have water low enough to be able to get it. But I mean, we're gonna keep going at it, but I just can't be certain when we're gonna get to it.
All right, thank you very much. Would everyone like a break? I know I would.
We have the fireman here probably for.
Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break, and if everybody's okay with it, we're gonna halt this discussion. We're gonna let Chief Grimes give his presentation, and then we will resume this conversation, because I think we're in a pretty good position about what's our priorities. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We can hand this back to Heather and Kyle and say, all right.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, these guys, we tortured these guys for an hour and a half. And I want my house on fire.
I gotta go. All right, 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
Where you go?
We have budget meetings too, so it's okay.
Are we live? All right. Okay, everyone, come back. It's now 7:45 and we're going to take a break from agenda item 1 and move on to agenda item number 2, which is to discuss 1001 Cedar Drive presentation. Chief Grimes is here of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
For having us. Awesome. Doing great.
Good.
As I like to say.
See that we've got a nice thick book here.
Yeah, I'd like to just say I have make some introductions. I have a commissioners, Commissioner Gardella.
I am,
He's a local resident.
yes. How
And-
you doing,
Thank you.
Commissioner?
And my deputy chief, Chief Best, and he runs the show.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Yes. So, real quick on the agenda, I did introductions. So I have a child with ADD, and I read a book about ADD that was made for parents. And the book had the first chapter, because ADD is often hereditary. The first chapter, the book said you can read the first chapter of the book, you don't have to read anymore if you have ADD. And then the rest of it is all the background information. So that's sort of what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to say really the bottom line of what we're saying is if I had a heart attack right now, or someone in this room had a heart attack and had sudden cardiac death, we can't get here in time to effectively save their life. And neither can anyone else. So the fire station over in Bel Air across the bridge, the one up on the end of the Mountain 44, they can't get here either. There's a hole here in this area. And so we're your fire district and we're going to fix that. And we're going to fix that. And then tonight we're here to talk to you about a way that you can possibly help us temporarily by providing a location for us. So I gave you a little background on us. Sorry if I'm repeating what you guys already. We're an independent fire control district. We were established in 1950. We serve 4 municipalities in Peaceland, Maine, which is the Bel Air Beach, Indian Shores, and Indian Beach. Why are we special? Because they were as a special fire control district. We're a single function governmental entity. So we provide fire protection. So thankfully, we're not worried about stormwater. Right? So you as a city have to worry about. We are one function. However, we do have a board. It's much like you all, the community representatives. So we get our one function as close to the citizens we can possibly get, which is, I think, a real neat thing. In the special district. It's the most cost-effective fire protection that you can have. And I'll share some numbers on the next slide with you. But this area, this independent fire control district is the most cost-effective solution. We have a local engaged board, like I said. We're experts. So the city itself doesn't have to have its own fire department, which will be much more expensive. And we're subject matter experts. So I hope you would think of me as your expert in this area, the staff. Together we become, say we're the most cost effective. We're showing the because we have a charge and we're also charging the tax. You put those two things together, that's how we build our revenue. The tax bill. But so you can see each house taxable value, which is 681,000. How that translates. If it was Seminole Fire Department, 418,000. If it was across the bridge, it's $100. And as your property values go up, the same.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm trying not to interrupt you, but I cannot hear what you're saying. I hear about every other word. Could you please speak into the microphone?
It's the microphone is problematic for some line. Do you want to loan?
This one?
You want to just have a seat and use one of these microphones?
Sure. Or
And Dave, it might be just background noise picking up council members moving. You know, everyone needs to be quiet when he's talking.
Let's try this right quick. Everybody mute except for
Thank you.
the, and let's see what happens. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait a second, Chief. Jody, if it doesn't sound any better after a while, we'll shift gears and give them a different microphone.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know what's happening, but you're breaking up now too. I don't know if there's some interference in the council.
You don't know except for the chiefs, and let's see what happens. I do know that Kyle's moving some things around right now, so bear with us 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So. But she looks, some. So, I'm not going to slide on just the different property values. It's quite dramatic as property value increased, say increased. Say 770,000. So I just wanted to point that out that seriously, these streams of, to your point about Doge and everything else, and that's for them. So about the listing. If you look at the slide, you can see that if we can cover the 70% of the level, because we're looking throughout training or something. So we try to end up with these overlapping coverage areas to give ourselves reliable coverage. So the county says we can be able to be on 7, and that's the gold standard that we're 70% and so we won't fix that. So our goal, sorry, I'm gonna make a little adjustment here to my screen because I can. There we go. So our goal here is to the survivability in cardiac events, stroke, sepsis, things that time is of the essence, respiratory failure like heart failure, asthma, COPD. Those are things we got to get here really fast. And we're arriving fires in time to save somebody out of the fire that can still be saved. And so there's some side benefits too. If we improve fire coverage, it also lowers insurance rates, and we want to continue this cost-effective approach. So we don't add a bunch of cost to the system. There we go. Slide is just a fire. It just shows the, I think about 4 minutes fire structures on fire. Once the fire starts free burning. So this is why that 7 minute. So we're going to catch a fire when it's like that first picture where the trash can moves. But you can see how fast. What I'm always amazed at is people are like, there's not that much to burn. But what happens with fire, you can put a garbage can corner of a concrete room, and eventually you'll have fire across the whole roof of the room. But the smoke is an incomplete product of combustion. Smoke. So that's what you see on the far right. There's the smoke's on fire. And so once that happens, it's called flashover. Nothing can survive. On the medical side, the gray chart shows cardiac survivability. If we can do that on some of these heart stops, we have about 100% of those chance of saving. If it's 5 minutes, it's 50%. If it's 10 minutes, it's 10%. So almost impossible. We do 2 cardiac arrests. Chart. You transported them to the hospital. I don't know the outcomes. Oh. So in stroke, also in sepsis, and many other factors that make this 7 minutes. We have some limitations on the day. As we have most of real estate, just the fact that so perception of a fire station close enough to serve it. It really goes down to how long it takes for a fire station to get. So the slide, which is 5. This is the this is showing response times, and to apologize, the legends are different on each one I'm going to go through, but this is showing our likelihood of 7 minutes or 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So is the cover today. See the things and some of those down the streets where it's red. There's no way. How that translates into reality is if you look at screen, if you're wondering. These calls and at the response time now. You can see on the right hand side this area. So the next the circles going up the beach. You can see how when I talked about building the system, you had circle on top of circle down the same beach. They're a little more spread out as you're going up the island. And you can see that hole right the beach. Station from 7 can sort of cover this area. Okay. Let me try it. Oh. Test.
Not much cord, but.
I turned it off. Tell me what this one. Yeah, I can do that.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. We're fine.
Get down to the table.
We're firefighters, we can overcome that. I have my deputy going to advance the slides for me. Okay. Here, bounce. Thank you. So I just wanted to show the coverage at the beach and. So the next is 2000. 2009, this is the county map, and if you look at coverage at the beach, it's all green except for close by the beach. So so this year, that's my commitment. So this is option 1, which is you. The temporary solution with coverage from here, from theater. And temporary basing fire tracking. So that I'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's when we talk about the basing fire track temporary beach. That's what I'm talking about. You can see the coverage on the map on the left. You can see all the way to the right of that map. You can see that it's a much better solution to that 70%. Option 2 is our permanent solution, which is not pretty station at the Church of Laos Church. And so that's our solution. That station done for probably 2 years. And that so we really require experts and we can fix the fire. That EMS to help us fix the EMS problem. So they have said, with them and told them, my client said, they're willing to step up and find positions to fix the problem after the station's completely constructed and we moved in. So they're not, they had a currently have a policy against helping us staff temporary stations. So that will be another ask is how, because you have a lot of with the county, as a fire district, I don't have as much weight. So you may petition them in some form and say, hey, we'd like you to help fix this EMS problem since the fire is fixing the fire problem. So that's that EMS and fire, we built our station over there and we fixed our problem. So what we're asking for tonight is that all the district operate out of Nexus and sewer. The parking fire truck, test, and the cedar itself, because there was a concern with some of the residents that you'd be bringing the fire truck down the street and that kind of thing. That potentially having the fire truck, if it's going to be long term, come on in 3 years. And I could talk at some point about getting the help and petitioning the county to help us with some EMS funding so that we can put a paramedic on that truck to fix the EMS problem. Does that make sense?
Done. All right, thank you, Chief. I appreciate the presentation. Council, I'm sure we've all heard from someone that lives around here concerning this subject. Who would like to start? Any questions or comments? Yes, Kim. Kim, turn your microphone and pull it back in your face, please.
At some point, there was some consideration of buying property on Cedar. What happened with that?
Well, I think I got a little over my skis, I call it. So I thought, if we were able to operate effectively out of the, and I think I was just carrying the idea too far forward and being too creative for my own good, and that's what caused the opposition. I imagined if we were able to operate out of the Cedar House, and then I had talked to Kyle, and he had said, well, that house has some function as a storeroom, or and so I thought, well, we could buy the lot on Cedar, and for the city's use, and to build a workshop or whatever they need to do in exchange for us getting the house. The house is in the position we need to be close to the parking lot, but in my mind, I thought, well, maybe this could work into a long-term solution rather than just a short-term solution. And that's what got I think some of the residents riled up because thinking I was going to build a fire station maybe on those two lots or whatever. So,
Well, I appreciate the creative thinking there. With regard to the EMS, then you're saying that would not move into this temporary situation currently, and you're asking for our support to ask for a variance of the policy. So could you tell me again what that policy is?
So Pinellas County is an amazing system. We have an overarching EMS authority, which is funded by ad valorem tax, and it pays for the ambulance service and also funds each fire department to put paramedics on the fire trucks or ambulances, or they look like ambulances, we call them rescues, but or quick response units, but basically to put paramedic level people onto the trucks. So if we move to truck up here, we would need additional funding for additional paramedic positions, ideally. We've told the county, it may be possible for us to front it if if they'll commit to us. But really, we would need them to fund. They've already bought us a rescue. So we already actually have the vehicle to sort of backfill our operation with. And what we would like for them to do is fund an ALS person, so a paramedic level person, to be on the fire truck. Otherwise, technically, it would be a BLS, so a basic life support person, so an EMT, a less high, it's very cost prohibitive nowadays, and you can't find paramedics. So to help us fund the paramedic position would be a great benefit. And then, quite frankly, it's under my charter, I'm the fire person. And under their charter, they're the EMS person. So they really should, if they want to, and we've told them, we'll radically collaborate with you, whatever you want us to do. But we really think the EMS problem should be fixed with the temporary station. So far, when we met with them, they said, we don't staff temporary stations. And I think the fear is, well, if it's temporary, maybe then it goes away and you guys will still want the funding or something like that. But I do think that they've made exceptions over the years with that. And I think that with your lobbying of the county EMS system, and the mayor is on the EMS advisory board, so he knows how this all works. I think we could actually get those positions allocated from the county. The county has a very strong EMS system. It's strong. It's funding over 100 million in reserves in their reserve fund. So I think, quite frankly, I think it's been a problem for a long time. We all have the opportunity to fix it, and we all should come together and fix it. And we'd like you to invite them to the table.
A lot of communities have medical professionals, because I don't know the difference between an EMS and a paramed, but on fire trucks as a matter of routine, don't they?
Well, in Pinellas County, most fire trucks have positions funded by the EMS authority. So yes, and if they don't, then they're considered basic life support. So they'll still be able to respond, do CPR. So it does actually improve survivability. It's just not the same as having somebody who's got that advanced level that can give drugs, defibrillate, and do other advanced things.
Okay.
And the chief is right. They may say they have some guidelines that they follow, but historically they've made exceptions for friendlies. So I think that if the opportunity presented itself, that I could bring several mayors with me, and we would all be given the opportunity to speak in front of that council on our behalf and on your behalf to ask for additional personnel. I know we've gotten close before, but we didn't have the groundwork to actually make that happen. We didn't have a place to keep that person.
Right. The county wanted us to build it first.
Right.
And originally we thought the temporary would satisfy them, and now we've learned it doesn't quite. So we have to go back to the table. But you're right. We've been working on this for a long time. They definitely weren't comfortable until we bought property and we could show that we have skin in the game.
Yep.
But now it's probably time to go back, and it will be incredibly helpful to have the cities behind us.
Now, before I go to other council members, would you briefly tell us exactly what it is you're asking for out of the building and out of the parking lot? How many vehicles will be there? How many people will be there? What hours they'll be operating? What does it sound like whenever they're called? These are things that really no one's been told yet.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. So, and we do operate on the mainland in a residential neighborhood, and it's amazing how quiet the trucks are. They don't go out blaring their sirens and everything else. So it's pretty, I don't think it's noise prohibitive for them to come and go. And like I said, they don't hit their sirens unless they really have to. So this would probably have a call a day, like one every 24-hour period, maybe a call or two. We envision, and it's all up to the collaboration, but we envision parking over in the row of the fire truck in the row of spaces that's against the house, like where the house is. And so they can pull in and pull into that space and then pull right back out. They're doing the circle. And at any given time, we would have at the most 4 people there. So there'd be 4 cars. At shift change, there might be 8, but that's at 7 in the morning. There may be 8 for a short period of time, but during the day, we'd have 4 cars there. And then what we need is basically a 3-bedroom house. Like we need a sleep room for each person. So I guess that would be a 4-bedroom, but we could put 2 beds in a room. A bathroom, shower, kitchen. We usually use, we try to commercialize the kitchen as much as we can because they're doing.
You're gonna have to forgive me for interrupting. I'm having a hard time hearing, but okay, so 4 cars. And where are they parking at?
Well, that's a great question. Like we could park in the community center parking lot in that same area. I'm quite frankly, as long as the citizens I just don't want to say anything that's gonna, to affect the folks that live on Cedar. But, certainly the cars could also park in the driveway on Cedar, like for the personnel cars.
Okay, and so the fire truck is leaving the community center parking lot, and whenever it comes back, it's entering, how's it getting back in there?
Just the same, just the entrance to the community center parking lot.
Okay, so at no time you're driving down this next street.
No, just coming in the parking lot, immediately turning right. I mean, we can work together on the flow. But what I've envisioned is we pull in, we turn right, we go to the far side of the parking lot around, and we park as close as we can to that row of trees, so that when the firemen are as close as they can be to the fire truck when they get a call. And then when they pull out, they just pull out to the sort of the main drive that comes into the back parking lot. They just pull out and in and out through the parking lot for this building and the entrance for this building. No, there's no reason for us to even put a foot on Cedar, not even a pedestrian foot. But I mean, if it for some reason we decided they could park a couple personal cars there, because it would relieve parking places in your lot, certainly, and they wouldn't object. Certainly, that would be something to think about.
Okay, and just to continue giving everybody as much information as we can possibly give them. Obviously, the city has set aside some money for making repairs to the building. I believe that was from insurance.
Sure. Yes.
But there's additional items that need to be added to make it habitable. So is the district actually providing any funds to assist with that?
Yes, we would expect to pay funds that wouldn't be their typical, is what we talked about. So if you were gonna rehab the building, but my understanding was, for example, you wouldn't put a shower and bath necessarily in there, we put a shower. So we pay for that, but basically we were willing to pay share that we felt like we needed to pay for to make it fair.
Okay, and then about the noise, you said the engines are relatively quiet now compared to what they used to be. So you have a 5-alarm fire and this truck is called. What does that sound like for our residents?
Yeah, so like I said, they are going to pull out onto the main drive here. They'll have their lights on. They may hit their siren if there's traffic.
There's going to be traffic. I
Yeah,
can assure you
okay.
that.
So in the morning, they're not, 3 in the morning, they're not going to, but in the middle of the day, their siren will come on while they pull out. And then they'll go north or south on, just like today on Gulf Drive, they come up Gulf Drive, right? So not much different than what it is today, except for pulling out of this location and making it to Gulf Drive.
Okay, 3 years is a long time, and I know that at all the other fire stations or wherever there's fire trucks posted, there's usually a caution light and it switches gears whenever an alarm goes off. Is that something in your plans for here, or is it just leave it as it is?
It's a great question. I hadn't considered, because I thought this is a state highway and it would probably take longer than the 3 years to get a traffic light in. But certainly if we could get a traffic light in or even the, electronically controlled, like those crossing lights, just warning lights.
Okay.
We'd totally be willing to explore that.
Well, the reason why I bring all this up is because I don't know if you've seen our beautiful sign out there. We keep it blue for a reason. It was almost impossible to get that sign because the neighbors, they did not want that. And so I do fear that you're going to run up against the same mentality that we don't want this in our neighborhood. And so I just wanted to let you know of what it's like in this area. They're all great people. They all, they all have their own ideas as to what their neighborhood should look and sound like, and so on. And I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to let the rest of the council start asking questions. I just wanted to get as much information out front.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, Vice Mayor.
So, Chief. So right now, if a fire truck is serving a fire, that's, let's say you come across the bridge and you're going to take a right and go that direction towards Clearwater, but still in Bel Air Beach. Would a truck actually come from that direction? to serve a fire like down in,
Yes.
Good Street?
So we operate in House County, it's amazing. So we, 19 different fire departments, we operate as one set of policies, procedures. So a standard response to a smoke in a building, 2 trucks, which are the trucks with the ladders on top of them, rescue 2 district chiefs. So that's a normal response. We have, and in the county, the closest goes for everything.
Okay, so my point is that, Mr. Bear, I mean, it could be at 3 a.m, there's a fire down by Morgan Street.
Doesn't have
or Villa
to be.
Beach. They could be coming across that bridge anyway.
Right.
With the lights blaring and the horns blaring. at 3
Right,
in the
and they usually say have Largo.
Just say that, yeah. So that could happen. So we don't have any control over that. It may not be any different if it's pulling out of the parking lot here and taking a left to go to the intersection. I'm just saying that that could happen. So the crew is asleep in the house over here on Cedar, and a call comes in. On television, you see the alarms going, and guys coming down poles and all that kind of stuff. So is there a big alarm that would go off in Cedar, or how are they notified that they need to get up and go take care of a fire?
I love it. I love the question because so in the old days, they had these big bells like movies, right? But we found that that was killing firemen, like the stress of I'm sound asleep and waking up. So now we have a kind of general day, which is good for them too. I get, there's no loud bells. There's a little, our station was a little soft chime and, actually bed shakers.
Okay.
And the firemen wear vibrating watches. And so it actually is less.
Be an issue to a neighbor's house, hear the alarm go off or something like
Yeah,
that.
great
That's
question.
good. That's good. So the crew would get up then and get prepared and leave the house and then just scoot over here and jump on the truck.
Right. I imagine those set of stores, so, by the wall inside and just right up into the truck and
Okay.
Yeah.
And what time typically are the shift changes? What time of day?
change shift at 7 a.m. That's it. They work 24-hour shifts.
Okay.
So only 7 a.m.
So what time would the new crew come in?
Could probably 6.
At 6?
6:30.
Okay. So at 6:30, there's a potential of 4 personal vehicles pulling in, which may not be unusual. I mean, some people get up here. I mean, I get up at 5 and go to work, but I don't really. So that could happen at any street. People could be coming home from work at 6 a.m. So
Yes.
I don't think that's a big deal then. Okay, thank you.
You got bridge
Thank you.
walkers that park here at 6 o'clock in the.
That's true.
Yeah.
Other
Okay.
questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Bankard.
That response rate you were saying 10 minutes is really highly unacceptable. I mean, I think our average age is like 53 years old here or something. It's in the 50s.
Further up than that.
Well, I keep getting older.
Yeah, so do I.
But
Not me.
I really can't, I mean, as long as you don't turn the lights on till you hit the street and the siren. Like the vice mayor said, you're gonna have Largo and the mayor says coming over anyway. They're not gonna give us any consideration. I'm 110% for it.
I think the other thing that I would comment on here is that you were talking about the citizens and their response to the blue sign. I think the argument here is what is the response time? The response time is the result, and that's the benefit to the residents, not the noise. And the noise will be kept to a minimum. So I'm 100% for the project. As long as everybody is addressed and everybody's satisfied, but I think the response time is far more important than just a little bit of noise.
All right. I have not heard anything from Councilmember Wellings or Shirley. Who would like to go first?
I guess I can go. I was waiting for you, Judy. Actually, I'm not really in favor of this. I guess I understand this trade-off between response time and I think the residents on Cedar, there's going to be a perceived loss in property value. I think having something like it's even perceived, even if the fire engines are behind it, in the parking lot behind it, I just don't see those residents supporting this. So I'm not probably in favor of this.
All right, Councilmember Shirley.
I'll just say, the city has been operating out of that house for many, many years. This is a very similar operation. I'm sure probably it was given to us how many calls are made in Bel Air Beach. I couldn't hear, but I did hear that there's probably one in a 24-hour period. So that's 365 people in our city that might have a medical need. And it makes their chances of survival much greater. I think that's important to have that fast response time. I would definitely be in support of it. It doesn't change the use of the house as much as one would think.
Thank you very much. So in recap, I think we have one person who is against and everyone else is for. I have not.
Just a question, have you had a study done where property values went down because I would think the property values would either or go up. I mean, if it's going to go down.
Two things I thought of while you have making your comments. One is calls are very predictable by time of day, and they're busy daytime and slow at night. So it takes about 8, maybe 8 to 8 is so, the fear of we'd be going out all night long. But the other one is there is a study that shows property values actually go up if there's a fire station in close proximity. The house right next door to the fire station, see that, but the houses within close proximity of a fire station, the research shows that property values go up because people want to, like you said, aging population, some people look at that. I want to have access to emergency care.
In some cases, their homeowner's insurance goes down too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about the fire side of it, is the insurance, the ISO rating. If we can improve on our ISO rating, that's what sets your insurance rates for fire. And you don't get the highest rating because of the distance here.
Well, I will say that I am for this also. However, I still think that we need to have an open forum one night and let the community come up here and let us have it.
Yep.
All right. And
That's the next step, right? Is that the residents do get a chance to voice their opinion. That would be the next step.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So City Manager Riefler, if you don't mind, would you or Kathy, would you coordinate one night, 6 o'clock, everybody's here. Well, not everybody. I'd say, well, yeah, it's a public meeting. So yeah, have the whole council here and let's, you and I will get together and we'll discuss how we're going to handle community response and how it's chaired. Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Does that sound fair enough?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Any feedback on our presentation on how, the best way to shape it?
It's probably not a bad idea for you to be here, actually. David, how does that sound?
Sounds great. I appreciate the support.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So I don't know what our schedules are all like, but I would say within the next 2 months, because I know it's hard to get everybody on the same page, but if we can just reach a quorum, I think that that's good enough. Councilmember Shirley and Wellings, are you guys okay with that?
Yes. Yes, I'm fine.
With me.
I'm seeing thumbs up. All right. What I'm hoping is that the outcome is positive and that we can get this done. And then the next step is to go and meet with the EMS advisory people and see if we can persuade. I can't guarantee that's going to happen because they have not been very generous with the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District as they have with others. But who knows? Maybe they'll have a change of heart. I certainly like your approach, and I think that it's working out well for this community. Yes, Kim.
I just wanted to say that my house is located across the fence at the very end of Cedar, so I'm on 9th Street. I hear more noise from pickleball in the middle of the night with that clunk clunk, which is, it's fine. I'm glad people are out having a good time. It doesn't bother me, but I fully support this. I think it's a creative, good idea. There's a medical need. And if you need any support, Mr. Mayor, in promoting that to the county, I'd be happy to participate and support.
Great. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I believe we've at least voiced our opinions, and now we've got a plan. Within the next 2 months, we will have that meeting. Hopefully it's sooner than later. And we'll see where it goes from there. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
appreciate Everyone else that, your cheerleaders that you brought with you.
I didn't introduce my boss, which is here also, my wife Estella, so she came. My commissioner, my deputy, and my boss.
There you go.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to add to the length. I know your meetings are long, and so
No,
thank you.
Sorry you were so long to get you up.
Oh,
Hey, yeah, you know, if I'd thought about it, I would have asked to reverse it, but it just didn't seem, I just ran with it. All good.
we do budget meetings too, so.
All right,
thank
thank you
you.
for being, and I appreciate you explaining everything to the council.
I liked your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Like the deck was good.
All right, let's get back on to item number 1. And I think where we were at last was that we had pretty much decided that we know what the basic core functionality for the city, but the main things that we cannot overlook. The high priority, everything else is takes the back burner to safety and security for the city. And I don't know if we had any other comments that anyone wanted to make, other than I was just going to ask the Heather and the city manager to go back and look and take all this into consideration. Mr. Harper.
I just had a question on item 1 and item 4, in particular, the replacement versus the repair. And in particular, the last column, which was the life cycle of 75 years versus 2 years.
I put 2 because it's every 2-year
I
cycle.
understand. I'm just simply saying, would it be better from a budgeting perspective to budget on the high number for replacement, since it is such a much better return on investment of 75 years versus having to have an annual repair of every 2 years, especially when you're talking about 126,000 versus 500,000. I know they're ballpark numbers, but it just seems like you budget for the worst case and hopefully it comes in that it only needs a repair, but you've got some money surplus.
Whole idea. Yes, I agree.
That's the way I would look at it.
I was gonna propose that, yes, like the mayor said, you've all kind of agreed on the fact that the 22nd Street Bridge is a priority, so I'm gonna propose that I include that for 500,000 between whether it's a repair, hopefully, or if it's more of a replacement type project. Would that be okay in the capital projects fund?
Yes.
Next is the causeway lights. That's more of, I think when they break, we fix them, kind of a number for 30,000. Is everybody okay if I put 30,000 in the budget for that?
What is the average annual?
It's a lot lower than that. It could be lower.
Okay.
I would say 5,000 we've spent in a year.
Well, I was thinking that was very high.
And the state doesn't kick any money in for that?
No,
It's
I
a
think
state
we
road.
take care of one half and
Is that why we
takes
get different
care of
styles
the
on the
other.
bridge? And I gotta get to the halfway point of the bridge and the lights change styles.
That's why. Yeah.
All their light, yeah, we didn't lose any.
Yeah, I thought that was all county.
Councilmember Shirley.
I'm sorry, it's kind of off subject, but it was when you first started this conversation. You know, we're pretty far. I just want to just kind of recap something. We were handed budget schedules in March, on March 20th. And we are just addressing this today. And I just want to say, in the future, can we get some of these projections and some of this information more in advance, so we're not having a 3-hour meeting about items that we need to budget last minute? We should have had some of these projections, and I'd like to see more of like the burn rate. If we do all these things, how quickly do we burn through our reserves, things like that, like we've done in the past. I think it just makes it more helpful, especially for those who haven't been through the budget cycle yet. This is there's a lot of information to absorb, and now we're going to have to, I think we'll have another meeting early September, and we have to lock in a budget, and we're kind of just seeing these numbers now. So just you know, in future, we just need to be a little more up to date on what's happening and having this information more readily available.
I appreciate those comments, Councilmember Shirley. I actually thought that this was in response to what we've been hearing with the property tax because we are so far into the budget. I just assumed that's why we were having this discussion.
I know I asked for some of it, Dave, because it seemed like the last meeting we had that many council members weren't aware of what we had in reserves and what our balances look
Yeah,
like.
I understand. All right, well, thank you for that.
Okay, so we've got the bridge, the causeway lights, and did you say you wanted me to decrease that amount or?
City Manager Riefler, what,
10,000 per year, I think.
10,000 per year?
The remaining items in the capital projects fund are just the annual savings. You know, those range anywhere between $5,000. We put away 75,000 for street resurfacing as the highest line item, but those are just the annual savings. Is that fine to keep it that way? Okay, so that, I believe that would be the only change to the capital project fund is the increase in the bridge repairs to show that we're using the prior year reserves in the current year budget. In the general fund, the same thing is pretty much true, just the annual savings, those range between 3,000 and about 8,000, with the exception of 24,000 being reported for buoy replacement. Is that fine? The buoys was the priority item in that fund.
Council, thoughts
Yeah.
on the buoys?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
After October 1st. Installed.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Shirley.
We know after November 30th, though.
And then the big thing that we've been talking about tonight is the stormwater projects. I propose just for the time being that we can budget stormwater improvements. They're gonna be undefined at this point in time. If you don't wanna say that it's for the 9th Street pump project, you know,
Did you say underfunded? or-
undefined,
Oh.
undefined
Okay.
projects. Yeah, you know, you're gonna,
Money.
yeah, you're gonna have to do some stormwater improvements. I don't need to know exactly what that looks like tonight. But I
We're
wanna
talking
put,
about 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Those two.
yeah,
I think that's a good result.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm still for the pump project, but this council and the city is going to have to make a decision on which way they want to do it. I don't want to go one way or the other, and it's a mistake. I think if we make a mistake on the pump, we all have to accept responsibility for it.
So why can't we just leave it in there? And we don't use it, we don't use it.
well, that's what I'm thinking, just not,
Saying.
She's taking
not
that.
tag it as the 9th Street pump project. We'll just say stormwater improvements if that's okay with everybody.
Now it could be 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever it needs to be.
Correct. That might-
That fine?
With it.
So you're really just talking about the 660,000.
Yeah, we have
26.
660,000 and then 50,000 in the valley curb.
Okay, even though that's in 2028.
Well, we had that in the first draft of the budget anyway. It's essentially the annual savings of
Okay.
that project.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm curious, it's coming out of the general fund. What's not being spent on the general fund for these projects? So we have money in the general fund and it's not allocated to anything?
That's true. We have unassigned fund balance. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, I'm happy with that.
And then for the line item, I talked about 5380460 on page, I have the budget in front of you. That is storm drain repairs and other maintenance. Last budget, this current budget year, we had 50,000 in there. I reduced it. But I've reduced it to 5, but I recommend we put it back up to 50,000 for what we're dealing with on 7th and 8th.
For repairs, not necessarily large
It would be as needed.
We've got to get this, we have to get all of these drains repaired.
Is that where the lining would be, Kyle? You'd put that in the same bucket there?
It could be lining, it could be a valve,
Okay.
for a specific outfall, it could be anything, just to improve the stormwater as.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I've got a plan and you'll have a budget. You have a public hearing next Wednesday. That's an important one. Is everybody gonna be around?
Next Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Wednesday?
This month.
I didn't know we'd set a date.
They say,
He said yes.
This one last year.
So Wednesday, the 3rd?
Yes.
Good.
So that's at 5:30, right? Cause it's,
It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday and it's 5:05 on the Monday.
So you're gonna see the budget this way that we just discussed tonight. You're gonna have the first reading of the resolutions that establishes the budget and the millage rate. And then
What day is this?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, the
Third.
third. Okay. Because I heard 31st.
Labor Day's the first, so the council,
We Wednesday the 3rd.
All right. Yep. I'm good with that.
all right.
If I might comment, I think this is a really good accommodation in terms of the stormwater project. And if we can come up with a solution that affects more streets, wonderful. I only ask that we all keep this as a priority for next year and move with all due haste in terms of finding our solution, because a lot of people are really upset and they feel like we're going through a paralysis by analysis. And so the more that we can resolve that, I think we'll have a lot happier populace.
And I will respond to that. I'm hearing more complaints from people that had their check valves that they're either not working, they're missing, there's a problem. So it's a much wider spread problem right now for our community, and I think that is our number one priority.
Great.
Not forgetting about the pumps.
No, and I agree. And I think our manager is going to have the check valves resolved fairly soon. So that's good. I know it's moving forward.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any other comments on this? Heather, you have your marching orders?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have any general business, or is everybody ready to go home?
I just have one question.
Okay.
What is the status of the easements issue or the issue of the easements being removed?
Update.
Update on that.
Good question, Mike.
Last comment I provided was to the report. I was collecting information for the article, just that the city was believed that the easement was still in effect. So that's the last, and then I provided that article though to the council.
Is it?
Yeah, and they, if you recall, there was I sent out a citywide email about our start date. Well, they found some sea turtles and they're not hatched yet. And so now they're going down to Indian Shores and they're starting there. So they'll eventually come back, but my hope is that they're able to complete this project before spring break. That's what I'm really hoping for. So any other general business?
yeah, just,
Should we all go out on the beach and have a birthday celebration for these turtles when they come out?
I keep on eating.
don't go out at night because they are locking the gates. Okay? Here they are. And we all thought they were not locking the gates. Well, I went down to the beach at 10:30 the other night. And 3 nights later, there's a lock. So don't go down at night to look at the turtles. Or you can go down at 28th Street.
If you do, take your, what is it, red light, blue light, some other color light. Anyway,
Between the.
all right, well, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we did that.
That one.
Make sure you pop it.